Hey everybody, it's your host, Eric. Welcome to another episode of the Devy Dose. We have on today my friend and frequent collaborator, Devy Jake. You want to say hi to the folks?
Hello, folks. How is everybody doing this evening?
Doing good. I hope everyone's watching some NFL and taking a quick Devy Dose break here. And man, what a weekend of college football it was. We had some really fun championship games. I don't know if there was anything that was crazy shocker, some little upsets for sure. But I see you got one game highlighted on your notes here, Jake. So you want to launch into your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the clear best game of the weekend, at least as far as on the field play and end result, was the only one to go to overtime, the TCU Kansas State game. Kansas State seemed like they were in control there for a minute, and Duggan put the team on his back and had that amazing last 2 minutes, running for his life downfield, gassed, laying on the floor, getting back up and stumbling into the end zone, completing a 2-point conversion. That was exciting. That was a Heisman moment for me. They may definitely, I don't think ends up winning it, but especially not with them ultimately losing the game. But it was a tremendous finish and tremendous show of heart by him. Great game all around, in my opinion. What game did you have circled?
Dude, I want to talk about that because I am so angry that they had Kendre running up the gut twice in a row with like 8 inches to go to win the game instead of just giving it to Dugan, right? Like, Dugan has like literally been your offense for the past 30 minutes of play. Like, I love Kendre, but just fucking sneak the ball in there.
Yeah, Sonny Dykes said afterwards that he was hurt during overtime, and that factored into it. I still think you ultimately need to, do whatever it takes, and he's clearly put his body on the line so far. The announcers highlighted, these head to toe in nicks and cuts and gashes and bruises, and what's one more for all the marbles. I still think it was lame that they didn't review that when Kendre outstretched the ball. I think it broke the play, and I think that was a touchdown. I want to see at least them take a look at it. One of the announcers said, because initially they were, maybe he lost the ball and it should be a fumble, they should review that. And one of the announcers like, well, if they review it, it looks like it'll be a touchdown. And I ultimately agree that it should have gotten reviewed, and it quite possibly would have gotten overturned, which flips that game on its head.
Yeah, and if they rule it a touchdown, then it gets reviewed, right? But yeah, man, heartbreaking. I thought TCU had it. Obviously, you and I are both a big fan of Kendre, and everyone loves QJ. And Dugan is, I think, one of the best stories of the season. Really, just his like really turnaround of his play from his early years, and I just really wanted to see him. But they're still getting to go to the playoffs, so that's.
I'm glad, and yeah, I think that's something that the committee ultimately got right. They played ranked teams and beaten them all season. They've now got a win over a top 10 team in Kansas State on their profile. Their earlier matchup. It would have been impossible to put Alabama over them, in my opinion. If you're just trying to have the best 4 teams make the playoffs, and you want to ignore, give Alabama credit for having 2 losses and ignore what TCU's done on the field, then, just take the best 4 teams by recruiting average and have them be in the playoffs every year. That's not how it should be done. TCU absolutely belongs. And I think they also got it right putting Ohio State over USC. It sucks for USC. I think the only reason they were ranked above Ohio State was the baked in Pac-12 championship. It was kind of assumed they were going to go to that game and going to have that championship on their resume in order to secure that playoff bid. And I think that the committee got it right going with Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that was a hell of a game too. Man, Utah just beat them up at the end of the day. They just beat them up. And I think it's the same way I feel about TCU, right? Where like I love so many prospects on USC, and we all love Caleb and think he's, probably the best college quarterback there is right now. And man, tough to see him lose like that, but just Cam Rising just ran them over, over and over again.
That was awesome. When he got just hit and his helmet came off and he just got right back up. That was incredible. Hard not to get fired up playing with a guy who does that.
Yeah, man, hell of a player, that guy. So my personal favorite game, though, and this because it feeds into my priors, but no, really Clemson versus NC. I think it's, North Carolina. Obviously, Drake May has been one of the most electric players in college football, and it's great to watch Josh Downs. But my dude, Cade Klubnik, who was my favorite quarterback in that draft class coming in, finally Tebow made DJU sit the bench and put my dude in there. And, the box score isn't too crazy, only one TD, but I don't know if you watched a lot of that game because, man, he looked the part of a pro quarterback. Just running, to the sideline, throwing across his body, 30 yards down the field, just making reads lightning quick, like all the things I loved about him as a prospect. I think we saw it this weekend. What do you think?
Oh, I love Cade. I thought it was a great game by him. He was, able to get Clemson their first 100-yard receiving game of the season for Cole Turner. It was interesting to me that Dabo had said, that they had planned all week for him to come in the third series. And it was interesting after the game. Cade said that he hadn't gotten any run with the ones since fall camp up until this week. And Dabo went on to say how he thought that Cade was going to take over during the Notre Dame game and all this. How are you not getting him any playing time with the ones, in practice? No reps. Just does not feel like you're setting him up for success. But they've got a fun group coming back. Cade, Shipley, everyone wants to talk about them, having poor receiver play, but sign me up for any wide receiver room that has, Adam Randall, Antonio Williams, Bo Collins, all coming back. I like them to look a lot better next year, and who knows, maybe they'll get Jeff Scott back, calling some plays. We'll see what happens there as well.
Yeah, really interesting receiver group. Even Cole Turner, I think you had him maybe on your sheet to talk about later too, but that's kind of an interesting story. Where that was his first start that he drew. He was starting for Bo, and he really seemed to play well.
Yeah, they said that this was his he'd only played football for 1 year or maybe 2 years, but one of them was like in a wing tee offense, and then they transitioned to a spread offense last year, and that was his second year ever playing football. So he's super raw, but looks like he's got the tools, and his brother is a football player for the Bucks, so he's got good. Got good genes, and no reason he can't take a next step as well.
Wait, who's his brother?
Nat Turner, I want to say.
Oh, okay, because there's a tight end called Cole Turner, right? That's playing for Washington, but that's not his brother, right? I was so confused when I saw the name in the box score.
Nolan Turner, sorry. Oh no, that does not sound right. Oh yes, Nolan Turner, yes, from Clemson, yes.
You know what I'm talking about too, right? Cole was a tight end prospect this year, a different, unrelated Cole Turner, right?
Yes, that who he played for eludes me as well.
Redskin, Commanders, right?
Yes,
he got hurt. He got hurt earlier and has been sitting, but he played early and played well.
The Nevada kid, right? Yes.
Exactly. All right, man. So stars of the week, and I spoiled it. I jumped the shark on mine. Cade Klubnik is a stud. Klubnik's going to be one of my favorite guys. I'm going to pursue him at all costs over the next 9 months until the college football season starts again. And I can't say enough about him. I'm just hoping that people are still sleeping, that people don't see the game and just the box score, and I have an opportunity to take him down in a few leagues still, because I think the world of him. How about you? What was your first star of the week?
My start, I kind of cheated and got a 3-for-1. I just put the entire Tulane offense. They made UCF look silly out there. Michael Pratt had almost 400 yards passing. Tajay Spears had 200 yards rushing. Shea Wyatt had 110 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. Like just every position, they had someone steamrolling UCF. Tremendous all-around performance by Tulane.
And Pratt's one of those guys that we talk about practicing patience in Devy and in Dynasty Fantasy Football, and one of those many guys that I was on him so hard when he was a freshman, just because like he had some electric plays, early starter, and then he was so bad for so long that he kind of wound up off a lot of my rosters. And man, what a sea change for him this year over there.
Absolutely. Last year, I think at some point I said they were the best 0-5 team in the country, and I think that was right. They didn't have too many changes to their roster between then and this team that is now just won the American Conference. Definitely a sea change for the perception of Pratt. He was largely garbage last year. I'm surprised that he's been productive. He's got a lot of touchdowns, a lot on the ground too. He has not done much for creating a CFF friendly wide receiver. I'd like to see something there. Where we see a reliable Tulane wide receiver that you can start, but that's not been the case. But still, he's played well and has good stats. I think he's definitely a top 30 quarterback in scoring, if I'm not mistaken. I can pull that up here.
That sounds right. Was there a coaching change there this year, Jake?
Yeah, I forgot what the new offensive coordinator is from. He was some like system guy in Division II, but it was an exciting hire. Let me
Jim
see if I
Svoboda.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I'm probably murdering his name, but it's Svoboda. Svoboda.
Yeah, the Central Missouri guy. Yes.
Yeah.
He was the head coach of Central Missouri. They led the Division II in total offense in 2019. He's 61-year-old guy, so he's not young, but he's won three Division II national titles in 10 years at Northwest Missouri State or Central Missouri. Had a lot of success at that level. And he seemed to be a great addition to that offense and provide a lot of spark and ingenuity for the Green Wave.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll be able to pull someone in with the portal. I mean, obviously, successful team. You got the quarterback coming back. Spears is a senior, right? 4th-year player.
I believe he's a 4th-year player. He was a redshirt freshman in 2020 when he tore his ACL.
Started to blow up. Yeah.
Think yes. I think you're right there.
Yeah, probably.
He's 4th year.
Yeah, might have another year of eligibility though, right? Because of the
I think he would definitely have another year if he wanted to come back. We'll see. I've seen him get some draft buzz. A lot of people have him, in that top 3 of G5 backs with Dwayne McBride and Keaton Mitchell. Not a ton separating those guys. They're all really talented, and I'm not usually a proponent of G5 players in Devy, but all 3 of those kids have a chance to make it at the next level, in my opinion.
Yeah, have an impact. I don't know, man. We all love talking about draft capital for the undersized G5 backs in, December and January. But when April comes around, we know that it's unlikely that more than one of them will be a day 2 guy, and more likely they have like Justin Jackson type outcomes, right? Like 6th, 7th round, and then maybe, get a role and, find a spot on a team. But I don't know.
If any of those 3 end up with day 2 capital, I'm going to be rostering a lot of them, but yeah, I don't see it happening. At least not very likely either.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone, McBride, I think, has the best resume. He's been just
He's the
consistently
biggest.
dominant. Yeah,
He has
and
the
uh,
best
and,
size, I think, too.
and just like efficiency metrics for him all look great. I know I haven't run my final like running back model yet because I need to do collate data from a couple different sources. But I think he's gonna rank high until I adjust it for conference, which I do that. So
Poor Dwayne.
Poor Dwayne. I had a couple other guys that I wanted to talk about too, and LSU, right? Like that went about as we expected to. Except, I was honestly surprised they were able to put up 30 on Georgia. Usually you don't see Georgia winning games by outscoring the opponent. Usually they're winning games by shutting down the opponent. And I've been talking about Malik Neighbors for a year and a half now. I thought he was the next guy up there. And he's overtaken Booty in that offense as the primary target. And he looked awesome this weekend. Some really nice plays downfield, showcased that speed, winning on deep posts. And man, I'm impressed with the kid. And just as much, I thought Garrett Nussmeier played well. And, I've been we did a startup a few weeks back, and I took Jalen Daniels just because I figured he was going to come back and be prolific, CFF producer again, at least, if not any real, draft potential. Now I'm thinking he might lose his job. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know if News has done enough yet to put that in jeopardy, but he certainly did look good. And Neighbors, yeah, I love Neighbors. Yeah, I had him actually in my my buy list for what we're going to discuss later. But yeah, 128 yards, I believe, career high, 5 catches. He's got a 36% market share in that offense. He's largely banished Kayshawn to the shadow realm as far as him being the number one there. And he came in as the fourth best wide receiver they bought in. He was still a blue chip, but I think Chris Hinton, Deion Smith, and Brian Thomas Jr. were all rated above him, and he ended up having a very productive freshman year, over 400 yards, and he's the lone one of those recruits standing and producing well, and is in my opinion, wide receiver one in LSU right now.
Yeah, I think that's not a hot take at this point, or at least it shouldn't be for people that have been watching and paying attention to the data as it kind of comes in. And I think that's a good lesson too for me, in supplementals of grabbing those 4 stars in feeder programs that were a little bit lower down, right? Like the guys that are in Alabama and LSU and Clemson that maybe weren't the top ranked recruit, but that have a chance to shine through. And they're so cheap. Like Neighbors was undrafted in every supplemental. I picked them up off waivers mostly, towards the end of the year last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Him, like you said, like Kobe Prentice at Alabama was basically free most offseason as well.
Yeah, I caught him on waivers after week 1 in some leagues, and was able to spend up and get him, but was happy to blow the fab budget on a guy with an NFL future. So you had one more guy, and obviously we talked about him a little bit. Do you want to spitball on Dugan a little more before we move on?
I mean, we summed it up. It was just tremendous watching him. That last series, man, I loved it. I was fired up watching it, seeing him just grasping for air, clutching the ground, holding on, and then gathering himself and stumbling into the end zone and hitting that 2-point conversion. All of it was tremendous, and just a lot of fun as a fan to get to watch.
Yeah, that's the college footballness of it, right? Just like
it reminded me of when Byron Leftwich was at Marshall many years ago, and he fucked up, pardon my French, but messed up his ankle, and his offensive linemen are carrying him down the field in between plays, and he's leading them to the win. just the same vibes, just a true competitor and someone who put the team on his back. And they, like I said, they ultimately came up a little bit short, but I don't think any of that falls on his shoulders.
Now, do you think he comes back? I mean, he has eligibility left because of COVID.
Hey, I mean, I'm coming back if I'm him. Especially in the
Yeah,
NIL era where you're, able to market yourself and get paid. That's so a wealthy position to be in. I think as far as potential NIL deals, the quarterback of a playoff team and a Texas university, a private Texas university at that. I think that there's a lot of room for money where you're probably going to get more than in this 1 year than you're going to get for your first year of an NFL contract. And I think, I don't think that he's going to do himself, he's not going to play himself into the first round this next season, but I don't think he's going to do himself any disservice either going back and showing that it wasn't a fluke and, really building out that resume.
yeah. I mean, I think you look at guys like Pickett, obviously, and I don't think that's a common outcome. I think that's got a lot to do with like the other options last year being so bad. But even look at Stetson Bennett, right? Like Bennett's. Last year Bennett would have been a UDFA, and like this year, yeah, he ain't like a day. He's not like a round 2 or round 3 pick, but if he goes to the draft, he'll get drafted. Like maybe 5 or 6 or 7. Someone will take him, competent backup. And that's a good outcome if you're one of these guys. If you want to keep playing.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I think any outcome where he's drafted is a favorable outcome, and I think you maximize this year of NIL, and then you try and really solidify that resume and end up getting drafted next year.
Yeah.
Like you said, if he ends up a Sam Howell or a Malik Willis and gets drafted in like the 3rd round, that's great too. A big win.
Yeah. All right, man. So I think we already kind of dipped our toes into the buys a little bit, but so it is. You want to lead off with your favorite buy going into next season? Again, for anyone watching, we did running backs and quarterbacks last week. So if you want, when I post this, I'll post that thread. This week, Jake and I are going to talk wide receivers and tight ends.
Yeah, and I kind of try and break these down, because there are so many formats. There's Devy buys, there's the incoming freshman who I like for late round Devy picks. There's CFF guys that I like. I'm going to try and touch a little bit on all of them, but. Yeah, my number one buy I think right now is Malik Neighbors. As far as value goes, I think people haven't caught on to just how productive he's been. You see a few Twitter accounts starting to mention him, but he doesn't have near the following that he should, in my opinion. And you could probably trade for him for fairly cheap right now.
Yeah, what would you offer if you're trying to take down Neighbors? You got any ideas? Not to put you on the spot. I was thinking about this as well.
No, I don't have a ton fresh in my head. I'd be trying for a couple of seconds if someone already owns him. I think in a lot of leagues, especially Devy leagues, C2C leagues, he's almost certainly owned by now. But in a lot of Devy leagues, he's probably still available, but he probably will be going. I imagine near the end of the first in combined rookie and in college Devy drafts. I think he'll end up going right around 112, 201, and right on that cusp.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I'm wondering too if there's like maybe cause I'm probably gonna make some offers this week before people really catch on. Because the hype's gonna ignite at some point in the next few months. Maybe offering an NFL prospect that I don't like a guy that broke out as a senior or something that I think is going to be dead, but maybe has some draft buzz. Maybe I can get a deal like that done. Like I was the guy from Purdue, Chuck Sizzle. You know what I mean? I don't think he's an NFL player. Maybe I can get him off for Neighbors for someone that's a fan.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be above including a supplemental pick on top of Chuck Sizzle. I'd also maybe go like a Josh Palmer. I'd be willing to trade
Mm.
for Malik Neighbors. I think he's got some NFL value. Palmer does, especially with Williams out, and
Mhm.
I don't think it's necessarily long lived. And I think when all is said and done, Malik Neighbors will end up being a Devy second round pick when he comes out and gets draft capital. I don't think he ends up sneaking into the first round. I think he'll end up, right in that early second round sweet spot where you're, able to get a ton of productive receivers. So I think selling Josh Palmer for Malik Neighbors, if you can, would be a good idea, and up your value into an eventual second round pick.
I think you get that deal done a lot of times too. If whoever has neighbors is a competitive team and they're trying to push in for the championship, I think you get that done. So I'll launch into one of my first two guys here at the wide receiver position, and these are guys that like I'm not. I didn't break it down as clearly as you. These are kind of more notes, from last week when I was going, but a couple of guys that interest me more from a campus of Canton point of view because I think they'll probably be productive next year, but with some potential to be NFL draft picks. Were the other starters this year from PSU after Washington and Tinsley? You got Keandre Lambert, who was a higher recruit than Washington, but was injured as freshman. So Washington got the first crack at the starting job and obviously produced well. And I'm a Parker fan, but Lambert's flashed a little bit here and there this year. And again, he's free, man. Like no one cares about Keandre Lambert at all right now because he hasn't done that much. But there's going to be a massive target vacuum there next year, and likely Drew Alar, who we are all pretty high on throwing the ball. So it stands to reason, unless they get a big name in the portal, which is possible, or have a freshman that really just smashes from day one. Someone there that's a vet now is going to be productive. So it was Lambert was the one name for me, and then Harrison Wallace, who was a freshman this year, who played over. He's a 3-star, but he was playing over Katron. What's the guy's name? It was like the 4-star there. Do you remember? There was a guy that we all liked a lot in supplementals. I feel like a similar name to Katron Allen, but it's obviously not that. But so anyways, Harrison Wallace, big, athletic, had some nice routes. I caught him studying Parker Washington film earlier this year. He had a really nice double move where he just dusted the guy, and it was in the OSU game. And yeah, man, I think there might be some potential there. Those guys pique your interest at all?
I I think it's a great idea. Do you think that Washington is going to be gone for
Yeah.
sure?
Yeah, I
Uh,
definitely do. I think there's some scouts that are still going to be high on him. And, even if he's going to be early day 3, I still think it's worth his time coming out. Do you think he comes back?
I have no idea, to be honest. I haven't heard much in the way of draft buzz. I'm tremendously in favor of people being you know lean on the side of declaring and go and getting whatever money you can. Maybe that should change a little bit with NIL, but yeah, I wouldn't knock him for declaring. I just would not be shocked at all to see him come
Mm,
back,
that would bum me
especially
out.
for sure. Especially seeing the prospects of getting to play with Alar
Yeah.
instead of Clifford.
Yeah,
Um,
it might be good for him for his draft stock, though, if you really. But, like, my question is, though, it's like, if he was gonna, if he's gonna have this ascension, and really improve his draft stock, why wasn't he able to dominate target share this year? And that shocked me. You know what I mean? At
no, I
first, I
agree.
said, maybe Tinsley's that good, but you look at that the OSU game where Washington had his 140-yard like 8-catch game or whatever. His film from that game is phenomenal. I just finished cutting it up last week. It leaves really, really nice plays over and over again. And the game after that, it's like 3 catches for 40 yards, just dead air. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde status. Um, yeah, and we've seen, while you can rag on Clifford all you want, he did set up Jahan Dotson with a couple of impressive seasons, and yeah, Washington has not been able to kind of fill those shoes and really be that guy consistently. I agree he's flashed, but he's flashed since he was a true freshman, and
Right.
I've been waiting for him to put it all together. And I side with you, and I kind of hope that he goes on so that I'd rather with the mystery
Clear
box.
the path.
Yeah, I'd rather the mystery box and the next guys and see, what they can become. And
Yeah.
I think that those are good names. I think that's the right idea. I think you're looking for an offense that should improve, and you're getting pieces of it that are, relatively free and have a chance to see a tremendous boom in value. So I love those guys as buy lows, 100%.
So I love your next guy too. You want to hop into him?
Yeah. So just keeping the Devy lens, I think Antonio Williams, he was someone who wasn't drafted a lot in Devy drafts last year. There was, Adam Randall was the Clemson receiver that was the must-have, and that people were spending second-round picks on. Antonio Williams kind of fell through the cracks. I think he's still available in a good number of Devy leagues, and he's been tremendous. He broke the 500-yard threshold. They've schemed him the ball all over the field. He's got rushing touchdowns. He's been a kick returner, punt returner. He's even had a pass completion. And while he had 500 yards, DJU left a lot on the table. I can recall specifically against Florida State, he was wide open for what would have been a 70-yard touchdown, and DJU just wasn't able to get the ball to him. And those plays like that are littered all over his tape. I think that he's a walking bucket, so to say, and he's going to take a leap next year with Klubnik as the quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's a lock. He is popular, although I do find I do a lot of cross league trades. And if you offer someone Barry and Brown or Antonio Williams, people act like Antonio Williams is a leper, right? Like Barry and Brown is God. Antonio Williams is like, meh. And like for me, I mean, I love Barry and Brown. I love the speed, but Antonio Williams has done more, and he likely has a much better situation next year. So I'm super interested in him, and I think his cost is still really reasonable, even amongst people that kind of know what's going on. And like you said, he's likely to have a huge positive change next year with a real, aggressive gunslinger, pass first quarterback in there. And I like Randall as well, but I do feel like Randall has more crossover with Bo, right? Him and Bo are both like your big X kind of post up contested catch guys, and Williams does something completely different from them. Just breaking ankles, getting open, kind of that more like modern wide receiver prototype we've seen recently, and I think there's a lot of room for him to grow.
Yeah, he's built like Odell Beckham Jr. just from a size and athleticism perspective, in my opinion. I think that your proposed idea of you could probably trade Barry and Brown and get Antonio Williams plus back, add some a fourth or fifth round supplemental pick, and that becomes a great trade for you, in my opinion. I do still like I love Barry and Brown, don't get me wrong. He's I think a top 5 or 6 wide receiver in that class, but I still have Antonio Williams top 3 in the class, and think that long term I like him better. And if you can get leverage the current common perception on Barry and Brown into some added value on top of Antonio Williams, and more power to you.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, honestly, that a lot of my guys are kind of a theme here for my guys, and all mine are that like Devy, like college future slant for the most part. So I'll talk about one of them, but anyone that's actually been watching the show, or you've talked to me plenty, these are all like pretty typically like my guys from this past year, for the most part. The other guy I have here next up was Dominic Lovett. Mizzo, wide receiver, now entering the portal, potentially going into a better situation. We hope But if there's a guy that has a chance to be, the big portal guy this year that like Jameson was a couple of years ago, hitting it at Alabama or another high-profile program and really slotting in. I don't see why it's not him. Just like we were talking about earlier about neighbors banishing Booty to the Shadow Realm. Well, I mean, Lovett didn't banish Burden to the Shadow Realm, but he certainly was the better player on the field for them this year in really every way and in every measurable metric. Just excelled. Top 10 PFF grade this year. And that is what it is, but it's descriptive at the very least. Are you a fan or not?
I love Dominic Lovett, and yeah, I agree. I still think in a Devy league, I'd still take Burden over Lovett. Maybe that's me clinging to my priors, but yeah, he absolutely excelled this season. I think he's chronically undervalued. He had a productive freshman season, and no one took any notice, and has had a great second season, and still people haven't taken notice. So it'll be interesting to see where he winds up. I think he is the kind of player who should be looking for an upgrade rather than some CFF guys. You're like, okay, hopefully he goes to Liberty or a G5 school and becomes that dude to get me college points. But I think Lovett's making a business decision and is trying to find a better place to showcase his abilities somewhere that's more of an NFL pipeline than Mizzou. So we'll see where that ends up being.
I think in this era too, like I almost assume there's tampering going on all the time with these guys
everywhere. Yeah.
So he's probably got someone talking to his agent saying like, "Hey, look, we've got a good quarterback. We need a stud wide receiver. We're going to get this kid top two round draft capital. Why don't you send him over?"
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on the tampering, like Mac Brown said that a player had 15 offers, cash offers for new places to play next season, and that's kind of what they're dealing with. And they're not supposed to. No one's supposed to have any contact with these kids, leave alone be offering them cash to play right now. So. Yeah, it's still the Wild West out there. There may already be something done behind the scenes. We find out tomorrow is, I think, when the portal opens.
Man, speaking of Mac Brown, that would be a great destination for him because they don't have anyone coming up, and I mean Drake May.
Yeah, it would be a tremendous landing spot for him. They've had success in the wide receiver position between Downs and De'Ami Brown, and I think that there's plenty of opportunity for him to come in. They have Andre Green, I think, was the freshman who's there. He looked okay, but yeah, I think the door's wide open for someone to come in and make some real noise. Antoine Green is gone too, so Downs and Antoine Green are both gone.
Yeah, and then their other contributors from this year were older players as well. So I like the slot guy that played behind Downs. Gosh, I really was high on him earlier in the season. Do you remember who I'm talking about? He had one blow-up game and then was playing second string again. I'll think of him later.
It's not Antoine Green?
No, I'll talk about him. Why don't you take your next?
Kobe Paysor.
Kobe Paysor, and I do expect him to have a great season next year. Honestly, he's a guy that I probably should have included on my list had I thought about it because he has no value right now. He did nothing for the rest of the season, but that's because he's a slot receiver and Downs is a slot receiver. You're not going to take Downs' job, and he's not a great outside receiver. But that one time he got featured, it was like 8 targets, 93 yards, touchdown. A really good outcome for college fantasy football next year if he can take that role.
No, absolutely. Yeah, he had back-to-back games, 8 for 92 and a touchdown, and 5 for 73 and a touchdown to start the year. So I agree. I think he's a fun name to keep an eye on, and he should be added to this list.
Man, I love the rest of your list because you definitely took more of a college producer. So why don't you launch into those guys? Unless you want to do your freshman first. You want to do your freshman?
Yeah, I
first?
just want to quickly, just while we have the Devy lens, I do think that one of the best things you can do in Devy drafts is draft incoming freshmen. They people are the most patient with them. Kendall Milton had retained value for 2 or 3 years after doing absolutely nothing. So. I think that people are the most patient with them, and they still stand to gain the most value. Almost as just guaranteed value increase from year 1 to year 2 if they even show they have a pulse at all. And there's a lot of exciting wide receivers coming in this season. The 3 that I'm going to be targeting late that I think that you'll be able to get in the 4th, 5th, and even later rounds are Zach Branch, commit to USC, Brandon Ennis, the Ohio State commit, and out of Fort Lauderdale, American Heritage High School, and Hakeem Williams, a little homer pick there, committed to Florida State, also out of Fort Lauderdale, Stranahan High School. He's consensus 5-star pick player as well. I think all 3 of them should be fairly cheap, and all 3 of them are tremendous players that I cannot wait to see on the college gridiron.
Yeah, and God, you guys need a true wide receiver if it's you for poor Travis to throw to. So
gosh, yeah, that's been the case for a while, unfortunately. But our wide receiver room's as good as it has been in the last probably since Kelvin Benjamin was there. But we'll see. Hopefully, Hakeem Williams, the dude, he's the best receiver recruit we've had since a similar time. So yeah, hopefully it's wheels up. We'll see.
Yeah, I love that, and I think me and you will probably do a lot of freshman work as we go on. I'm thinking maybe the next couple of months focus on NFL draft stuff, and then really crack into freshman content. As we move into the spring and are ready to start supplemental drafts. So I'd love to do some work on that.
No, absolutely. But yeah, if you don't mind, I'll just jump in and quickly touch on a couple of college producers that I think you can target that that haven't yet announced they're going to the portal. So they at least have as of now, stable situation. Who knows with coaching changes and portal changes, all of this could be in the air, but it's fun for the exercise anyway. Two college producers that I really like and will be drafting in supplemental drafts. Neither are owned in many of the leagues that I'm in. One is Jose Barbin for Temple. He's got another year of eligibility left. He really came on with Kurt Warner's son to end the season. He had 500-yard games in the last 8 games. He ended with over 900 yards receiving. He was a lot of fun, and he's available pretty much everywhere. Same with Alex Adams. He's the LSU transfer. This was his first year at Akron. He totaled over 800 yards as a sophomore. Down the stretch, he really seemed like the alpha dog over Shockey Jock Lewis, who is a senior and out of eligibility. He'd already taken over the wide receiver room, but now 900 yards have graduated. I think he's going to be a tremendous CFF value next year, as he's someone that nobody's talking about.
Yeah. Adams has popped up just on box score watching for me a little bit, and I love targeting Barbon because I think EJ Warner could well be the real deal, and if he is like an NFL level talent playing at Temple, man, there's going to be a huge opportunity for production there, particularly because they probably aren't recruiting that high level on the defensive side of the ball. So if they have a good offense, you're going to be in for some shootouts there.
Yeah, and their defense has been a sieve for the last couple of years. So yeah, absolutely. I think they had a good start to this season where they looked like a good defense, but it turned out that was a result of who they had been playing and was not representative of their true defensive ability, as we saw them then proceed to get blown out many times.
Yeah. So I got a couple more names that I wanted to throw out that are worth talking about in this conversation. And, these guys should be productive for you on the CFF side, but I think they might have some NFL talent as well. So the first guy, and this is really, he's likely owned, But again, just zero hype around the name unless you're talking to certain very niche people. And that's Dorian Singer from Arizona. We assume Jaden Daniels is back there.
Jaden Delora.
Jaden Deloro's back there. And he's adequate. And if he's not, they had the freshman quarterback come in this year.
Fifida.
Noah Fifida, who played really well in limited action. Only spot play, but played really well. And Singer was over 1,000 yards this year, and awesome in every efficiency metric across the board. Cowing obviously gone this year, so he really has a chance to have just crazy high-end CFF production next year, like over 1,200 yards, unless Tet just goes for 2,000 yards, but somehow there's going to be 4,000 yards of production in that offense, I believe. And I think Singer is going to be a major part of that, 25% target share and really, really doing some damage. You like that offense next year?
Yeah, I think so. I think that I like them to repeat and be as productive. I think McMillan takes a step and eats into even more of that production, but there's so much pie left over from Cowing's departure that I love both wide receivers, and we'll hopefully come away with quite a few shares of both in CFF drafts this year.
Yeah, the other guy that caught my eye doing a little bit of prep for this was Jordan Tyson from Colorado. I don't know if you've paid attention to him or done any work on, but he has, at least last week when I did this, he was a top 3 receiving yards per team pass attempt in that class. I mean, that's worth paying attention to. Maybe it's just volume, but, a freshman coming in and doing that kind of damage on an atrocious offense, it's really worth highlighting him and doing some more work on him.
I agree. He's been tremendous. His last three games, he had a 92-yard game, 115-yard game, and 137-yard game. He's putting it all together, and he's a true freshman. A lot to like, and they bring in Coach Prime, so we'll see if he's able to take him to the next level.
Yeah, or maybe even get a little bit better of a quarterback in there.
Better quarterback or offensive coordinator. We'll see.
Yeah. Many ways this can go well for young Mr. Tyson there.
I agree.
So, are the rest of these tight ends that you had here on the sheet, Jake?
Yeah, the last 3 are tight ends.
Yeah, you want to launch into that?
Yeah, we can jump in and talk some tight ends. I was surprised you didn't already have the first one mentioned. I know you roster him already in several leagues, but RJ Maryland, the tight end for SMU, he's a true freshman, 4-star recruit last year. He had 27 catches, 290 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He started to line up in the slot more and more as the year went on and blocked less and less and ran more and more routes. So it was clear by about week 5 or 6 that they realized kind of what they had and really started a game plan for him and get him involved. And Rashee Rice is gone, and that leaves a lot of production available for this very talented kid to soak up some of, hopefully.
Yeah, we've seen that offense run to a tight end in the past, right? Doesn't that Calcaterra was from there?
So Calcaterra was there for a season. That was under the Sonny Dykes regime, but before him, Kylan Granson was there. Right. I think Rhett Lashley was on the coaching staff for some of the Kylan Granson years, and Kylan Granson was, he's basically a clone of RJ Maryland. I feel like they're both a little skinny for the NFL, but built like wide receivers, but both very, very, very talented and line up well in the slot. And I like him as a comparison for Maryland.
Super exciting. And all my tight ends are probably a little bit more Devy, but my first guy, and I'm sure you're aware of him as well, but Seydou Traore from Arkansas State was one of the top tight ends in college fantasy football this year as a true freshman or second year player, right?
I think he's a redshirt freshman. I wouldn't bet my life on that, but I think that's the case. He's awesome. I nabbed him in that 24 team
nice
C2C league, so I've been aware of him and a fan of his. I definitely would have had him on the list if I didn't see you already had beat me to the punch there. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I think he's awesome.
the good thing about him too is, at least reportedly, we don't have verified testing, but he's purportedly super high end athlete, like like 4.5, 4.6 type 40-yard dash at a 235-pound frame. I mean, those are like almost sniffing Kyle Pitts type athleticism. We don't want to set a unrealistic expectation, but big, fast, talented guy is always a good person to target in Devy or Campus to Ken.
Yeah, and that was an offense that has a decent amount of pass catchers in it, and he kind of rose to the top and earned targets and earned a role. And I mean, I think that we'll see who ends up being their starting quarterback next year, and if their coaching staff remains intact, kind of have to put that disclaimer on when you talk about any player at this point.
Right.
But yeah, I think sky's the limit for him, at least from a CFF angle. I don't know much about his ability to make the transition to the NFL. I hope that he's able to. I hope all these players are able to achieve their dreams and make it to the NFL. But for CFF, I have him locked in as a top 5 or 6 tight end next year.
Nice. So moving on, you got one name here that I know and one that I don't. So you want to talk about your next guy?
Yeah, so I can hit both of them. I got Varkey's Gums for North Texas. He's a redshirt freshman. He had 33 catches, 450 yards, 5 touchdowns. I think that his role isn't necessarily all that likely to increase, but I think that he's able to duplicate these numbers, and I like him as a late round dart throw for best ball leagues. I think I'm going to come away with a ton of these guys, a ton of shares of him as my 3rd or 4th tight end off the board in CFF best ball leagues. And the next guy I have that is I'm not sure which one you know about and which one you don't. I feel like they're both kind of randoms, but Thomas Yasmin for Utah. He was their 3rd string tight end to start the year, but he's got at least one more year of eligibility. The offense clearly heavily features tight end with Keith or Queethy or however you say his last name. Apologize in advance. And Dalton Kincaid. Both of them are gone. He averaged 25 yards a reception. He still was able to tally 300 yards this season and got 5 touchdowns. I think he's going to slot in perfectly into that tight end role and potentially be heavily featured next year.
Yeah, Yasmin has made his way onto my personal list of guys I'm trying to buy, trade for, pick up on waivers, grab in the supplemental draft, because he ain't going to be owned most places unless someone was really watching a lot of Utah. And I'm on the same page as you, man. That offense runs through the tight end. You get a guy that averaged 25 yards of reception. That is exceptional, and efficiency is super important for tight ends. It tends to be a sign of athleticism, open field ability, or rack ability. So I am 100% on board. I think he has a chance to be a serious baller, a household name by this time next year. I got a couple more guys to throw at you, both more like a Devy slant. Malik Taylor, I think, is becoming more of a known name in our circles now, and he certainly factored heavily in the game this weekend with LSU. If I remember correctly, he might have been the reception leader in that game for LSU, and the freshman tight end. I had a lot of high hopes for the kid last year that was the hybrid that I liked a lot, but it seems like Malik Taylor is coming in there.
Mason Taylor.
Okay.
Mason Taylor. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Mason. I apologize. thank you.
I was like, wait, who's Malik?
Yeah. Malik Taylor is someone else. You were right. There was a guy with that name. Anyways, Mason Taylor, stud in the making. I really like him. You don't want to be over investing in Devy tight ends for the most part because it's such a dart throw translating to the NFL. But that's the kind of guy I want to invest in if I am high level athlete, immediate role in an offense. And then the other name here also shouldn't be a surprise to most people, but Donovan Green, one of the 2 high end recruits to A&M this year at the tight end position. Unfortunately, I took more of Johnson than I did of Green, and that was the wrong decision because that young man has come on and immediately produced. And again, we talk about improving situations Connor Wigman taking over at the helm, probably a more prolific offense there next year. And, he's going to be competing probably against some 5-star wide receivers. But, if they start to sling the ball, there's room on the score sheet for Donovan. And A&M likes to run through a tight end anyways. Has always been that kind of focus.
Yeah, it's strange that they have emphasized the tight end so much, given how little Jimbo kind of utilized the tight end at Florida State. It will be. I mean, I'm still waiting with bated breath to see who Jimbo hires as the OC and if he's willing to surrender play calling ability. Play calling to the OC. I think that can make or break a lot of these guys. I think that the two tight ends that you mentioned are great names to know. I think for Devy especially, I'd be happy with either one with my 4th or 5th round pick to stash and hope to get lucky. Taylor has been great. He flashed against Florida State in the opener, and then finished the season strong against Georgia. So against two strong secondaries. I think Florida State ended up being a top 5 or top 7 secondary or pass defense in the nation. He showed up with 4 catches against them and 6 against UGA. So I like a lot of what I'm seeing from him. He's a true freshman. Sky's the limit for Mason Taylor. That's a very talented receiving room, and anyone who's able to kind of earn targets is someone worth watching and paying attention to.
Yeah, and definitely displaced some other highly ranked tight ends that had been on the roster longer.
Yeah, Jack Back had a terrible year. There was all the talk about if he was a wide receiver or a tight end, and I don't want to necessarily get into that, but he had a down year by all means, and I think Mason Taylor was a major reason why.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I don't know how you're doing on time. You got anywhere to go? I was going to do some film on JSN if you got a few minutes.
I could probably spare like 10 more minutes if that works. If that's too little, then I understand and probably have to jump off.
Yeah, you know what? I tell you what, I'll do the film by myself. Let's wrap up the rest of the core content. Did you have any good Devy trades or C2C trades that you did this week?
No, I had someone offer me my DK Metcalf for their Deontay Johnson and a first round Devy pick and a Devy pool that's pretty depleted, and I ultimately turned it down. I tried to pivot and trade DK for Caleb Williams, and he was ultimately rebuffed.
Yeah,
I would have maybe added a little bit, but he didn't seem all that interested. So
I respect the attempt.
It's the worst is that I had owned Caleb Williams, and before he ever took a snap, I traded him away as a throw-in in a trade, and I'm obviously regretting that very much right now.
One of the draft decisions that haunts me the most from this previous offseason is in the Born and Raised League, where I took Quinn Ewers ahead of Caleb Williams in the first round.
It's the worst.
It's horrible, man. And a part of it was like FOMO, right? Because he was tough to acquire this year, and I figured that might be one of my only shots to have a share. I had a few Caleb Williams shares already, but man, I am regretting that something fierce at this point.
What about you? Have you gotten any Devy or C2C trades done?
I got a good one on the block right now that I'm thinking about. It seems fair, but given the context, I might just pass on it. But I got someone in a league, and this is a league you're not in it, but it's a league that's kind of the college side reboots every year, like almost like a keeper on the college side. But it's a campus to Canton, so you can do cross league trades. So for me, in those leagues, I'm mixing my leagues up. This is in Ballers. That I don't think you're in. Are you in Ballers?
I'm in Ballers.
So, all right. So I got a trade offer in this league. We're both in. So someone is trying to offer me DK Metcalf and Isaiah Pacheco for my Barian Brown, Antonio Williams, and Jaden Blue. which, all things considered, it seems kind of fair. Just NFL assets we have more information, right? Like there's still a world where Barry busts, but from my context in this, like my NFL team is really good. Like DK's a starter, but he's a starter displacing like Brandon Ayuk, right? So I'm
Right.
getting 3 points a game, maybe out of him, more than I would. And my college team's really good too. I was a playoff team. I think I was an early exit, but like those guys could well be helping me to a championship on the college side next year. So I've kind of been in gridlock on this one. What would you do?
It seems fair, but I would probably be wanting at least like a mid supplemental pick or so on top
Yeah.
to really drive it home. I don't think Pacheco has all that much value.
Right.
He's worth like maybe a late second dynasty pick, probably a third round dynasty pick, if we're being honest. I don't think anyone want to sell for that, but I think that's about his true value. I don't know. I love DK, and I think he's one of the top 10, top 15 wide receivers in the league for sure, and will be for the next 4 or 5 years. But yeah, I don't know. That's a lot of talent to send away, especially when you can, use them, like you said, to get points and get college moolah as well. It's tough. If I'd want to be sure that I was in the playoffs, and B, I'd want to get some sort of supplemental on top of the NFL players.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, and I'm probably not getting anything on top of that. The guy's a stubborn negotiator. I did offer him a counter that was like Berrien and Dubs, and then like a pick or something like that. 'Cause I'm not that high on Dubs long term, so I thought that was a little less for me to really give up, but that got shot down.
Yeah, I think that even if you like switched out Antonio Williams for Dubs, I think that would be a dub for you. Oh,
That's really, really bad, my friend. But so yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna do some JSN film now. If you want to hop on for a few minutes to talk about it and then sign off when you gotta go, that's cool. If you gotta sign off now, that's cool too.
okay, yeah, sure. I'll stick around for 5 minutes or so, and I'll let you know when I got to run.
All right, cool. So I know it's been one of the great debates on Twitter lately, at least in the circles I run in. And is he still a first round draft pick? In a lot of places, is JSN still the wide receiver one, which he hasn't been for me for a while. Although I do get that if people have evaluated him as that, I'll take You there, bud? Oh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I cut out and I could not hear you, so I just figured I'd restart.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm glad you thought to do that. Let's see if this goes in here. That was I can get as long as seem to shut us right down. So right now, happen another swing.
Yeah, it seems like it's happening again, possibly.
Yeah, let me see if I can hit the. Oh no, don't do that. Usually I can change the resolution a little bit. Quality, yeah, bring it down to 720p. That might help. This working? Yeah, seems to work, right?
I'm good right now. Yeah, I can hear you.
No. Yeah,
Yeah, I
cool.
can hear you.
So what's your overall take on JS? Yeah, we're a little laggy, but what's your take on JSN at this point? How you feeling?
I'm still a big fan. A little disappointed that he has kind of wilted a little bit here in year three. I still think he has elite traits and athleticism that's going to translate to the next level. And I do think that he's more than just a slot guy that I've heard people call him. But I'm still a fan. I'm still holding strong. I think I've got to, by this point, go with the masses and move him down from my wide receiver one ranking. So kudos to you for being a few weeks ahead of the curve there. But I'm still a fan. I think that he'll end up being a tremendous value in rookie picks if he's going late first,
Hmm.
early second in dynasty picks.
Yeah, so you're taking QJ over him and Addison over him at this point, like draft
Ah,
capital pending.
yeah, draft capital and landing spot pending. Addison, most likely, yes. QJ, if it is a vacuum and up to me, I'd probably still go JSN. But I'll, see where players ADP is and what the perceived value is, and kind of make decisions based on that. If I get a chance to get QJ, but it'll be my likely only share. I may pick him over JSN in one spot, and try and get JSN
Hmm.
later in a bunch of others. Just like to play the value game.
Yeah. So what traits do you like about JSN? I know for me, he seems just like super fluid, like really fluid through his breaks. I think he's a high level athlete. Although oddly, one of the things I've seen on Twitter lately was someone saying he was going to run a 4.6. I mean, like I don't see that at all. I see like maybe he ain't as fast as Wilson and Olave, but he's still fast.
Yeah, I don't think he's a pure speedster. I think he's a technician. I think he's a beautiful route runner. I think he's a smart player. He uses his hands well. Runs through traffic well. Gets the kind of the
Mm-hmm.
flow of the defense and knows how to exploit it and attack space in a way that few excel at. He's a very good player, and that showed up with his incredible sophomore season, and still flashes here and there, but we haven't seen it consistently.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I mean, I really wish there was more reps of him playing on the outside or playing against man coverage. But when I've seen him get pressed, he does very well. Like he's got a really sophisticated release package. He's got enough explosiveness to get by people and enough action to really, throw guys off and get off coverage too. I just wish I could see more. Really, I could see him play where got in and out a little bit. I think I'd be a lot higher on him because I think he's going to play strongly into his evaluation at the next level. It's like, what's the role people are going to have him for? Because if you think he's an excellent slot receiver, but that's it, and not transcendental slot receiver, man, you could get a good slot receiver, on day 3 all day. In this class, you're going to have guys like Cowing, and a host of other names that are going to go super late. So I think that's really going to affect how NFL teams put a price tag on him.
Yeah, I think these next two games, honestly, are going to, be a big factor in things. As much as it shouldn't, I still think it will. How he does against the Georgia defense, and if they're able to advance, how he does in the finals, will both paint a much better picture, I think, than him against Big Ten defenses.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. If he comes out and drops a $120 on Georgia, and yeah, then I think all the fade is going to be largely off. But if he comes out and has 5 catches for 34 yards and headed for the tournament, I think he's going to feel that too. I think you're right. It probably will be overstated in his draft evaluation just because of the lack of other current information we have.
Yeah, no, I agree completely there. And it sucks for him that Emeka and Marvin Harrison have taken such big leaps, but they really have, and they're earning targets at a higher rate than JSN seems to be right now.
Harrison is, I think likely a transcendental talent and transcendent talent. That's stinging a little bit if you're JSN right now.
Yeah, for sure. But I think my time has come to an end here, my main man. So I am gonna have to bounce on you. But I have loved being on here, and I really do appreciate it, the opportunity you give me these last couple of months, and look forward to the off season and bowl season and transfer portal season, and it seems like college football is just getting started.
Yeah, man. Well, I love having you on, Jay. Thanks again for all you do with me on this, and hopefully we can keep growing this together. And a lot of exciting content coming up for the off season. I hope you on next week.
All right, man. See ya.
All right, so solo content now, and I love talking to the guests while they're on, but hopefully we can do a little more talking about the film. And if you guys have been watching it while Jake and I have been talking shop, I'm sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. It's a lot of fluidity. Most of his routes are coming against zone coverage. I love the way he hits the brakes. Just no lack of speed, like no slowing down, no loss of speed, just complete transition to the horizontal. And I really see the athleticism with him after the catch too. Like, he wins a foot race there on that rep, and it's not close. He covers the distance diagonally before that linebacker can get across the field. I mean, I really do think he's going to run well. I'd say high 4.4s, maybe 4.5, but I'll be surprised if he runs a 4.5. I do think he's quicker than that, and I think he's going to do excellent in the slot receiver drills. 3-cone, shuttle, those things, like change of direction things a little bit. And really, the word I keep coming back to with JSN is fluidity. Just so smooth. Entering and exiting his brakes, just smooth acceleration, really, near his top speed in 2 or 3 steps. I think he could do with varying the speed in his routes a little more to add a little more deception there. But, I think he's a guy that's going to grow a lot in the league as well. Come in, probably have a role right away, but really, grow in an offense if he's with an OC that uses him and wants to feature him, and really become a better player in the league. It's just a lot of unknowns about him for me, or just a shortage of reps with him doing some things that I'd like to see more. But we're not seeing it at all in this game, but there are some other games where I've seen him get pressed and just obliterate the guy. Just, come off the line with the jab step, set the guy up to the outside and break to the inside, and really just, win his route before he's left the line of scrimmage. And that's really what we want to see with these high level wide receivers. We want to see them just winning the route at the beginning, winning the route at the end. All are not high level defenses. I'm going to put another thing here. It's not from my own personal archive. It is from the Dynasty Nerds film room. Love the Dynasty Nerds. I'm a team member there, and the film room is one of the most worthwhile subscriptions you can get. All my films there, and a dozen other guys that do what I do as well. So this game ran in 2021. He is physical too. He's not afraid to block. He'll make contact and he'll push. He'll push and bump in the first 5 yards from scrimmage. He can be physical at the top of his route if he needs to. But, I haven't really gotten to see. I mean, look at that. You can see the athleticism there on the sweep. Just blows by two guys in the backfield, makes a nice cut, and finishes the run. Jason is a guy. I think you could put him in, in a hybrid role if you needed to. He does have that ability as a ball carrier. Love seeing him block there and get physical. An asset in the run game. There's coaches that already care about that. Again, a nice blocking rep. You can kind of tell in his routes in these last couple ones that he wasn't expecting to get the ball. He was there a run play. He knew he was blocking. I honestly love that. It can tip the play a little bit, but he's clearly far from the action. I don't know how big of a deal it is. Even there, you can see his route is different than if he was expecting to get the ball. Sometimes with these out and in breaking routes, I wish he did have a little more sharpness to his breaks, a little more suddenness in there. It's nice that he changes direction at full speed. I just wonder if he wouldn't get more separation. Oh, the sharp design was. He's dialed up to. Things like this play, just you'd like to see him more aware of the coverage, right? Like coming back, help Stroud out there, right? To sit in the coverage. Physicality in the route. That's nice. That's a nice catch. That was really good coverage, and he just goes over the guy and grabs it. And it looks like he kind of wanted the ball over the top, and then Stroud throws it back to the inside. Which I guess back shoulder, back outside shoulder wasn't an option for him there because of the setup in the DB, but it just seemed like a little bit of a risky throw by Stroud. And I've seen that a couple times on JSN tape too. Where Stroud catches him on the inside coming back in from a route where he has, run a corner or, gone out and in. And he does accelerate after the contact so well. I mean, if that was, a corner to the end zone, he's going to give himself a really nice shot at the ball. But I do love that, him playing through contact, playing in traffic. That's a great ability. And honestly, contrast him to CJ. That's a nice route. His acceleration is, that back really is lost. He thinks he's going downfield with it, and that lets him, get so much separation as he comes across. That's a nice play. I was going to say one of the things I don't love about QJ is he doesn't attack the ball with his hands. He, for a big guy, he's not a great contested receiver. But I feel like the skill of that JSN does show off here, right? Attacking the ball, tracking it through traffic. So some of those skills, the QJ is going to have to learn at the next level. JSN is doing. So much separation when he comes to the ball there. I do think that was more, variation, a little bit of a stutter, and then the acceleration. Man, he just blows through the coverage there. This is what I'm talking about, where, like, I don't know, was that guy trying to jam him? Yeah, just breaks the guy. Man, what a nice route to this year. The guy tries to jam him. Sorry, let's see, hop back. Too far there. So, right? Is the guy showing outside on him? Boom. Chop move. By the inside. See you later. That should have touchdown. Stroud just missed it. And stuff like that does give me a lot of hope for JSN as an outside receiver, because when he does get pressed, he handles it very well. So I do think he's going to be more than just a slot receiver. And I think NFL teams are going to see him that way as well. I just, again, wish he had more reps, a little more information there. But from the reps I see, the skills are there. He can get open. When he does run a lot of different types of routes, there's some things that I think he could work on more in terms of nuance, some of the more subtle aspects of route running, but his explosiveness and agility and a lot of the hand work and things like that, he's already excellent at. So I think that's it for me today. I'm probably going to try to do some more film work, maybe later tonight or as we get into next week. But for now, I'm going to have some dinner with my family, watch some NFL. So if you're here, thanks. We appreciate your support. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And, Eric signing off. Follow me on Twitter. Follow Jake on Twitter. And we hope to see you again next week.